every chapter she's in a new city, a new country, she's speaking a new language, she's in a new century. And when I first started talking to my editor about this and my agents about this, it got very confusing very fast, because in every place she goes, she encounters herself. So Luce meets Lucinda, or whatever her name is in this lifetime, and I would be describing it to my editor, and suddenly we both would be like, wait, which Luce are we talking about here? Luce past, Luce present? We started to refer to Lucinda Price, the girl we've known from Fallen and Torment, as Luce Prime, and we started referring to the other variable Luces as Luce past. And there are some instances where Luce Prime becomes Luce past. I won't say too much about it if you haven't gotten there yet, but I wanted to share a quick anecdote with you. Maybe some of you remember from Fallen that Luce Price, Luce Prime, is named after a singer-songwriter that I really love named Lucinda Williams. And about 2 weeks ago, very fortuitously and surprisingly, I got to have dinner with Lucinda Williams. And it was a friend of mine knew her, and we set this thing up, and he said, you've got to bring the book, you've got to give it to her, you've got to show her. And I said, I'll bring it, there's no way I'm going to show her, I'll be too embarrassed and too nervous. I flagged it, I was ready to go with the post-it note and everything, and about halfway through dinner, my husband nudges me, and so I give her the book, and I say, Lucinda, I've been writing this series, I wrote this character, and she's inspired by you in a lot of ways, and here it is, and I showed her the page and the paragraph, and I thought, she'll look at this and nod at me and smile and say, oh, that's nice. And she didn't. She opened the book, and she started reading, and for a moment, Lucinda became Lucinda, just as my Lucinda was becoming the Lucinda of the past in Passion. And it was bizarre, but it was also magical, just as the experience of dealing with the two Luces within the book has been. So it was a really special thing that kind of made me understand what this whole thing had been about. The scene I'm going to read tonight you might recognize. Fallen begins in the prologue in Helston, England in 1854. And it's a scene I didn't quite understand when I wrote it in Fallen, and so I wanted to revisit it in this book. And the place that we're going to pick up tonight, Luce Prime, has come and gone, and Daniel Prime, the present Daniel that we know, has been pursuing her, and he's arrived too late. I also have to say that the other two books, when I would get out to go and do these readings, I would think, oh, I can't read anything, I can't read this page because it builds up off of this page, and I can't read this page because I needed to read the chapter before that. I can only ever read the prologue, and I got so sick of reading the prologue. And this book lends itself so well to a variety of readings because the chapters are distinct and they're each their own little story. So it's exciting to get to read from the middle of the book. Helston, England, July 26th, 1854. Daniel's clothes were sun-bleached, and his cheeks was caked with sand when he woke up on the desolate coast of Cornwall. It might have been a day, a week, a month, that he'd been out there, wandering, alone. He was used to eternity, but this had been hell. Waking up that evening, the sky slashed by purple clouds, Daniel sensed it. Midsummer, the night she would die. He wiped the sand from his skin and felt a strange tenderness in his wings. It was time. Lucinda's death would not happen until after nightfall. So waiting out the sunset, he stood alone on the shore and let the water kiss his feet. He closed his eyes and spread his arms and allowed his wings to burst from the scars on his shoulders. They billowed behind him, bobbing in the wind, giving him a weightlessness that provided some momentary peace. He could see how bright they were in their reflection on the water, how huge and fierce they made him look. Sometimes, when Daniel was at his most inconsolable, he refused to let his wings out. It was a punishment he could administer to himself. The deep relief, the palpable, incredible sense of freedom that unfurling his wings gave his soul only felt false, like a drug. Tonight he allowed himself that rush. He bent his knees to the sand and kicked off into the air. A few feet above the surface of the water, he rolled around so that his back was to the ocean, his wings spread beneath him like a shimmering raft. He skimmed the surface, stretching out his muscles with each long beat of his wings, sliding along the waves until the water changed from turquoise to icy blue. Then he plunged under the surface. His wings were warm where the ocean was cool, creating a small wake of violet to encircle him. Daniel loved to swim. The chill of the water, the unpredictable beat of the current, the synchronicity of the ocean with the moon. It was one of the few earthly pleasures he truly understood. Most of all, he loved to swim with Lucinda. With every stroke of his wings, Daniel imagined Lucinda were there with him, sliding gracefully through the water as she had so many times before, basking in his warm, shimmery glow. When the moon was bright in the dark sky, and Daniel was somewhere off the coast of Reykjavik, he shot out of the water, straight up, beating his wings with a ferocity that shook off the cold. He picked up tremendous speed as he flew back over the Faroe Islands, across the Irish Sea. He sailed along St. George's Channel, and finally, back to Helston.